During the Clone Wars, the Republic's clones could usually count on being tougher than their opponents, which were typically flimsy battle droids or poorly armed local fighters. This was especially true for clone Commandos, who were undeniably some of the toughest soldiers the galaxy had ever seen. But there was one group of Separatist combatants that even clone Commandos feared: the Trandoshan mercenaries. Several groups of Trandoshan warriors banded together during the Clone Wars to act as privateers, spreading terror wherever they went. In this video, we'll be giving a rundown of the galaxy's scariest lizards.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
The Trandoshans named their world Hishkor, but most of the galaxy knew it as Trandosha, an arid planet of deserts and grasslands. Life on Trandosha was tough and shaped the Trandoshans into a species of natural hunters. The Trandoshans were built for combat. Their scaly skin was incredibly tough, and their long claws and sharp teeth could easily rend flesh. They could regenerate lost limbs and see in the infrared spectrum, and they had immense natural strength, with the strongest Trandoshans able to win an arm wrestle with a Wookiee. The Trandoshans were apex predators of their world, and they reveled in their ability to dominate weaker lifeforms. This attitude toward other species brought the Trandoshans into constant conflict with the Wookiees, their planetary neighbors. The Wookiee homeworld of Kashyyyk floated in the same system as Trandosha, with the two worlds separated only by an asteroid belt. Of the two species, the Trandoshans were the first to achieve spaceflight, and when they discovered the Wookiees, they saw them as beasts and began hunting them. When other species discovered the Kashyyyk system and began slaving operations there, the Trandoshans partnered with them, capturing Wookiees to sell on the galactic market. To nobody's surprise, this was the start of a fierce and bloody rivalry between the two species. After decades of slavery, the Wookiees threw off their masters and drove them and the Trandoshans away from Kashyyyk. In the centuries that followed, they rapidly developed and opened Kashyyyk up to the Republic, becoming renowned across the galaxy for their strength and wisdom. By the time of the Clone Wars, Kashyyyk was a power player in galactic politics and economics, leading a broad political coalition in the Senate and controlling a number of major trade routes. This situation seriously pissed the Trandoshans off. They still perceived the Wookiees as nothing more than intelligent animals, and yet they found themselves constantly overshadowed by them. The Trandoshans saw themselves as the greatest of predators, the apex species of the entire galaxy. And yet, their home system was named after Kashyyyk, not Trandosha, and their only representative in galactic government was Senator Yarua, a Wookiee. The Trandoshans got especially riled up about that last bit. They didn't believe Yarua represented them and their interests in the slightest, and found it beyond insulting to be ruled by a non-Trandoshan, and a Wookiee at that. Due to this resentment, many Trandoshans were outspoken advocates for secession from the Republic. At the start of the Separatist crisis, Trandoshan Kashyyyk remained neutral. Kashyyyk strongly supported the Republic, but at first did not condemn the growing confederacy of independent systems, while Trandosha kept its cards close to its chest, waiting to see how the crisis played out. Secretly, however, the Trandoshans grew friendly with the Separatists. Speaker above all Haddo Krask, the leader of the Trandoshan government, was caught on at least one occasion conspiring with the Trade Federation to win Trandosha independent Senate membership. When the Clone Wars broke out, these sorts of dirty dealings continued. During the Clone Wars, Kashyyyk supported the Republic, becoming extremely important due to its influence over a wide swath of the Mid-Rim. Trandosha, meanwhile, remained neutral, officially at least. Many Trandoshan paramilitary groups allied with the Separatists, joining the Clone Wars as privateers. The Trandoshan government covertly supported these Separatist gangs, supplying them with funds and, in some cases, even weapons. Trandosha fought a proxy war on the Confederacy's behalf, most notably against Kashyyyk. The most notable of the Trandoshan privateers was a coalition of 3 paramilitary groups that worked closely with the Confederacy. The names of these groups are all unknown. One was a band of slavers, another was a mercenary army, and the third was a small gang of particularly potent warriors known as the Trandoshan elites. The slavers, mercs, and elites, as we'll be calling these guys hereafter, worked together closely. They took on special missions for the Confederacy, participating in a number of secretive CIS military operations. In exchange, the Separatists gave the Trandoshans their own private army of battle droids. The specialities and equipment of these Trandoshan Separatists varied from group to group. Thanks to their government funding, however, they were all well armed, making use of unique weapons designed specifically for them. This was a necessary measure since, due to poor manual dexterity, Trandoshans were unable to use most standard issue blasters. These Trandoshans usually used accelerated charged particle weapons, ACPs for short, energy-based blaster weapons that acted more like slug throwers than blasters. They also owned a fleet of customized drop ships and plenty of other military-grade equipment. The slavers were typically squat and stocky, preferring ambush tactics and close quarters combat to the more conventional military strategies. They were generally the least well armed of the Trandoshans, preferring to use simple knives or ACP array guns, which were essentially shotguns. The mercs were much more well equipped, typically armored, boasting jetpacks and armed with thermal detonators, submachine-like ACP repeaters, and LJ-50 concussion rifles. Mercs were essentially commandos, and they were much more disciplined and skilled than the more numerous slavers. Trandoshan elites, meanwhile, were the toughest of them all. Elites were heavily armored and carried LS-150 heavy ACP repeaters, massive portable machine guns that could cut down a whole squad of clone troopers in seconds. Their preferred strategy was simply to shoot everything in their path and beat down anything that got too close, and it rarely failed them. The Republic's introduction to this particular Trandoshan Separatist coalition took place a year into the Clone Wars, when the clone commandos of Delta Squad were sent to investigate the RAS Prosecutor, a missing Republic assault ship that had reappeared near Separatist space. Upon boarding the vessel, Delta Squad discovered that the Prosecutor had been boarded by the Trandoshans, who had massacred nearly the entire crew and hijacked the ship. This alone was an impressive feat. At minimum, the Trandoshans would have had to cut through 700 personnel to take the Prosecutor, and that total doesn't even count the assault ship's defensive garrison. Delta Squad split up upon boarding the Prosecutor, allowing the slavers to overwhelm and capture half of the squad. The two remaining commandos battled their way through slavers, mercs, and elites to rescue their brothers, and after a long and hard battle, they managed to liberate the Prosecutor. The Trandoshans' bid to capture the assault ship ended in failure, but it took the Republic's most elite commando squad to drive them off. After the Prosecutor mission, the Trandoshans continued fighting for the Separatists. They racked up quite the kill count along the way, gunning down plenty of clone troopers and commandos alike. For the most part though, they targeted Kashyyyk. The Clone Wars provided perfect cover for Trandoshan slavers to carry out raids on Kashyyyk, ambushing Wookiees who ventured down to the forest floor and taking them captive. The Separatists encouraged this, especially when, in 20 BBY, Kashyyyk formally declared war on the Confederacy following a botched round of negotiations. The Confederacy retaliated by funneling even more battle droids to the Trandoshans, who began covertly building droid army staging grounds in the jungle around Kachiro. During the Outer Rim sieges, the Trandoshans took jobs from General Grievous, who was planning a full invasion of Kashyyyk. Over a period of months, he quietly moved a small droid army onto Kashyyyk's surface, hidden away in the Trandoshans' jungle compound. He also gave the slavers a list of prominent Wookiee figures to capture, among them Chieftain Tarful of Kachiro. The capture of Tarful proved to be a mistake, however. After Tarful went missing, Kashyyyk requested assistance from the Republic, which dispatched Delta Squad to investigate. After rescuing Tarful, Delta Squad discovered the Trandoshans' dealings with General Grievous and the droid army massing in the Kashyyyk Shadowlands. They destroyed the Trandoshans' compounds and their droid army staging groups, but they acted too late to prevent a Separatist attack on Kashyyyk. A massive droid army detachment attacked Kachiro anyway, hoping to claim the city as a beachhead for a full-scale planetary invasion. The remnants of the Trandoshan Separatists assisted the droid army at Kachiro, but they were once again beaten back by Delta Squad, which halted the Separatist advance for long enough for reinforcements to arrive, led by Yoda himself. The mercenaries were presumably all wiped out during the subsequent Battle of Kashyyyk. In their time though, the Trandoshan privateers were terrifying combatants, capable of defeating even clone Commandos in battle. But what do you think? Were you terrified of these guys when you played Republic Commando? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments section below, and as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.